Hello, my gorgeous dancer, and welcome to another podcast episode of More Than Dance. Today, we're going to be talking about dancing through obstacles on and off the dance floor because, as we know, life is life and it's always lifing, and we sometimes just need some either reframes or strategies for how to incorporate these obstacles into our life. Because remember, it's not about avoiding the obstacle, it's about learning to move along with the obstacle. So, we're going to talk about just a few different um, I guess you could say obvious obstacles in dance. So, one of those being the body, okay, not just like the aesthetic, the physical look of the body, but also the way that it's working for you today. So, i.e., modifications, right? Because sometimes when we do modifications, we give ourselves shame and we don't need to be doing that to ourselves. The next obstacle is our shyness. So, the way that we feel timid while we're learning something new. And the third obstacle is actually about the learning process. So, knowing how to learn best despite being shy or timid or nervous. The fourth is time. How many of you have said, "Oh, I don't have time for that," or "I don't have the time yet for that"? And then the fifth one is, of course, the awkwardness that comes throughout the learning stage. So there's the resistance to keep going because of how awkward you feel, meaning you aren't used to being in the ugly stage, the stage where things are really working for you and you don't see the results yet. However, if you just keep going, you will see infinite possibilities. Okay, so let's talk about obstacle number one, the body. This is the one that I feel like as a older dancer, it comes up very frequently in my classes. And it's this shame that we put on ourselves for feeling some type of way about the way that we are able to or unable to execute a certain move. So this is where I get to tell you my story, if you don't already know it, about my knee. I have a knee disorder, a knee joint disease where I have tumors that grow in my knee. I've had four different surgeries, three on the front, one on the back. And this has been going on for all of my adult life. For a while, I was unable to even walk. For a specific period of time, it was that I was undiagnosed and I couldn't figure out what it was. I actually have a whole thing on this that you could go and listen to if you want to hear more about this story. But the bottom line of this story is that it gave me a giant obstacle. My whole entire limb, my whole entire knee, I was unable to bend it all the way. At times, I was unable to straighten it all the way. And it gave me actually a lot of pain that I got the opportunity to learn how to hide with facials because dancers are just so good at acting. Now, this to me was obviously it was kind of like I was grieving a part of my body. It was really sad. It didn't feel good, one, to talk about, and it doesn't still really feel great to talk about, obviously, because it's basically the admittance that there's something about your body that isn't working properly or normally, right? And that word normal. Ugh, okay, right? So we get the opportunity now to just reframe everything. And the way that I reframe this was I'm not the only one out there with a problem that they're dealing with their body. I'm not. And I see it every day. I see people coming in and they're in pain with their shoulder. They have something with their wrist. Maybe they have an acute injury where they like fell and they hurt themselves and it's going to heal. And then we've got these just other aches and pains that come about, our back, our this, our that. Like there are so many things that can get in the way of our learning process because naturally when we experience pain, our brain goes to that pain and that's what it's thinking about instead of thinking about what it is we're doing. So, the best thing to do is to be able to stand still for a minute and acknowledge, okay, I'm in pain. And then to notice, okay, what am I going to do next? I have so many options. So, when there's like a specific choreography, I love one to tell my students, like where I can anticipate a move that's going to be tricky for, I mean, I know all my students, so I know exactly what they're dealing with usually if they tell me. So like I can look at like one of my students and give her the eye and be like, careful on this one with your knee, well, be careful. And then she'll be like, oh yeah, right. Honestly, sometimes my students, they do not want to even admit to themselves that they could use a modification. Um, and I think this is just a perfect place to note this thought that I have a lot. And it's like, I have my knee and then I have my other one. And one of them is well, if this was me telling you this like maybe a year ago, I would say um, it's actually, I mean, not to get into a long, long story, but recently, because of helping this one so much, I've incurred some injuries over here on this side, which is, you know, not pleasant. However, I'm the master at modifying now, and I am the master at making it look like it is no thing. Like knee problem what? Knee problem who? Um, so I get to teach that to my students, but the point of me bringing this in is because we are just so easily able to be like, "Oh, oh, my bad shoulder, my good shoulder." And one thing, one like reframe that I can give you right now is like cut the shit on that. Like it's not bad. It didn't do anything bad to you. You got to treat it with love. It's my good shoulder and my great shoulder. It's my knee that is in pain today and the knee that is not in pain. And when we're able to reframe that, even just that little tiny thought, we're able to move forward and move past it because this knee isn't bad. It still does a lot of stuff. It still does so much for me. And it actually creates huge illusions all the time where people are like, wait, what? You have a knee? What? When did you have surgery? And it becomes this like gigantic, like kind of laughable moment where at that point my student can kind of take maybe one of their walls down or they can become a little less guarded to be like, oh, thank God. Okay. Felt like I was the only one in here with pain. And so the more that we get to like actualize that pain in a dance classroom full of students who are not children, like I think that's important to say. Like a lot of these aches and pains and stuff, they're going to come up as we age because that's just how our human bodies work. So instead of trying to fight the age and be young and be 11 and think that we can do things that we were doing when we were 8, it's nice to think about longevity and the endurance of dance through life. And what comes with the endurance of life is making sure that you are keeping the upkeep. It's like thinking about a car, and when you get an oil change, on an older car, you're probably going to put in some better oil, right? You're not going to put in like the quick crappy oil. You're going to be like, "Oh, this is like my car. I really want to care for it. So I want to put in this like really good oil." That's I can't remember the name of it, but synthetic or so. I don't know. So the same goes with our bodies. We want to make sure that we're giving it so much love and so much extra TLC because we can, number one. And number two, there's no shame behind that. Like, how many of you like get like something nice or you do something nice and someone's like, oh my God, I love that. That's something that's so nice. That they're not going to be like, oh, why did you get something nice? They're going to be like, oh, that's really cool. I want to do that too. So it's kind of like this really cool ripple effect. My favorite. I love the ripple effect because it does so much. So you listening to this right now, you might even see or know someone that like is so harsh on their body and kind of like mean to themselves. And you might be able to be like, yo, like, be nice. Be nice to your body and love it for what it does right now in the moment. And know that it actually does shift and change. And we get to also shift and change with it. So while one day I might be modifying and working hard to figure out the work around my right knee, on another day, I might be thinking really hard about doing the workaround for my left knee. And sometimes it's another body part. Like recently, I had a fall and I sprained my ankle. And guess what? I didn't miss a day of dance. I just modified. So you get the power to do that too. And it is powerful to be able to be like, oh, Oh, that? Oh, I'm gonna change that around a little bit and I'm gonna do this. And it gets your creative genius going because you get to be a creator as well. You're like, oh, I'm gonna take that choreography. How can I put that on my body? Ooh, genius idea. I'm gonna move this leg over here and I'm gonna move this arm over here. Bam, done, and it looks really cool. And it looks really cool because of the energy that we have towards it. It looks really cool when we're and if you're watching me, you know that energy that I'm giving right now. Oh, I did that move versus, oh, I have to do it this way. There's just a different energy to that. So, obstacle number one, our body normalizing our modifications, knowing that it doesn't mean anything less about you, and reframing the idea that it's not about doing what is right or "Oh, she did that choreography." It's about doing what's right for you. Our next obstacle, shyness. Let's talk about this one. I know you are shy, and we get to remember that when we show up shy, our body language shows up like this, hunched over, crawled in. Remember, we talked about this before, the idea of opening up the neck and bringing the shoulders back. And that's small energy. Dancers dance with big energy. And we know that when we're using our bodies to make art, which is what dance is, we need to express. So the idea of being able to express means the idea of being able to do something fully. The idea of doing something full out, that's like a term that dancers use. So if you're a dancer already listening to this, you're like, oh yeah, full out. I know that. And if you're not a dancer, this is obviously relatable because you can think about certain things in your life that you do full out. Like the way that you can't half cook chicken. Like you have to cook it full out. Like you have to do the whole entire cook process for that thing to be cooked. Otherwise, it's going to be pink and you're going to get sick. So when we dance full out, which means we want to take that shyness and put it into the move. So it's like, okay, we're conscious, I'm shy right now. And then we're going to be like, okay, how can I take that feeling and that idea and put it into something that is going to make my movement bigger? Oh my God, I'm shy right now. Okay, hold on. Let me reframe myself. Let me change my face because if we show our inside face outside, no one wants to see that. People want to see our outside face. That thinking process face where we're questioning ourselves, that's inviting the audience to question us as well. So we want to make sure that we're able to just dictate how we want our audience to feel. And we do that through our face, our eyes, our eye contact, and our body language. It's also tricky because sometimes, especially if you're a new dancer, you're going to come into a room and you're going to see all these amazing people in front of you doing the thing. And you're not going to have a context truly of those people. So, like, for instance, you might walk in and on that specific day, you might see people that have been dancing at that studio for 2 years, 3 years, and 4 years. At that time, you're like making a judgment slash comparison on yourself based off of someone's not only their commitment and their dedication to being consistent with something, but also their abilities in the way that they learn. So that's why another good reminder not to compare, and also just acknowledge without judgment. Okay, I'm in a room of people I don't know. Guess what? They don't know you either. So they might be seeing you and being like, oh my God, she just came in. That's not how I was on my first day. I wish I was like her. Oh my gosh, how brave. It took me, 2 years to get into the room. And she just told us that she just heard about the studio last week and she's already in the room. So there's always a reference point that's helpful with context. And you get to do that either through the idea of assumption. So, like, you don't have to actually find out this fact completely, but you can assume that there might be different levels in the room. I mean, I think that's a safe assumption. Sometimes people say never assume, but I think this is a great assumption. When you go into a room, just assume that there's going to be people of varying abilities, varying levels, and varying ways of just as you would like in any other classroom, some people's strengths. Remember in school when people would be just so good at math and you'd be like, oh my gosh, why are they good at math? I'm good at English. It's the same kind of thing with dance. You might notice someone is extremely flexible and that person might have a really, really hard time memorizing because of that's just what they struggle with. Or maybe they actually are working through dyslexia always when they're dancing. So there's always these things to keep in check, or keep yourself in check, that it's not just you that is making these awarenesses and these ideas when you're observing a room. And what you can do though is acknowledge it and make it that the we talked about the comparison one time, about like how it's like good, and it's like helpful sometimes, because that can help you create a goal. So maybe the air and the energy that these people are bringing in the room that you're in is like bomb bitch energy. And you're like, I want that. So now that's a goal. And now you get to just be that. You get to be working on that goal, as opposed to being automatically making yourself insignificant for no reason, right? You're just like, oh, I'm insignificant because, I'm not that good yet. No, it's just you started now. So now you get to learn now, versus they started 4 years ago and they were actually probably in the same spot that you were. So the obstacle in this case, obviously, is that shyness and that timidness, that nervousness. And also, it's the strategy that's going to help you here is to be able to reframe that, refocus, anchor in, and visualize what you want, where you want, and to not get tripped up by the comparison aspect. Moving on to our third obstacle that I want to talk about with you today. The third obstacle today is learning. So, the actual learning process. How do you learn? Do you know how you learn yet? I love teaching people these options, because sometimes we don't even know that it's available for us to pick. It's like a vending machine. Like, literally, there's so many options, right? And you're like, oh, okay. Oh, they have those. I like those. Oh, cool. I'm going to grab those. It's the same with learning styles. Like, oh, I could learn with just counts. Oh, cool. I like that. Oh, I could learn with beats. Oh, I like that too. And we get to choose as dancers. And not just dancers, as dance learners, we get to choose how we want to learn and how we want to bring that information into our head, which also helps us to navigate how to ask better questions. And when we know how to ask better questions, we actually get more empowered to, one, ask the question, and two, to just know that we're going to get the answer that we need to give ourselves the opportunity to be a better dancer. You might feel like you're not a fast learner when you're in a room full of people. This is a great opportunity for you to be like, ooh, I think I'm comparing. Reframe. Is it that you're not a fast learner, or is it that you haven't put in the amount of hours that the other people have put in? Do you think that maybe you could be a fast learner if you had more opportunities to learn? Do you think that maybe you get to learn something else to be a faster learner? Because sometimes it's like this, like, pyramid of things that you grab along the way, and those things are like, ooh, this that can help me learn. Ooh, I'll bring that in. Ooh, this that can help me learn. But if you're getting all these supplies, right, and you're like becoming a better learner because of it, what happens when you are not knowing that those supplies are there for you to help you learn better? And if you are a fast learner, then maybe you know exactly the options that you're going to bring. It's like going on a hike and you're like, okay, I'm going to bring my shoes. I'm going to bring the things that go over my shoes so I don't slip. I'm going to bring a water thing. I'm going to bring food, a backpack, and I'll probably bring like a walking stick. And someone who is new might just bring one pair of shoes without the little spiky things. They might forget like how much food they're going to need and how much water they're going to need. So they don't have the same supplies for their hike, though they could be fully capable to do that thing, to do that hike, if they had those supplies, if they knew to even pack them. So that's something that you're learning as a dancer is, oh, okay, I get to learn about musicality. Great. I'm going to take that on my hike. Oh, cool. I get to learn about memory skills. Oh, great. I'm going to take that on my hike. Oh, cool. I get to learn about facing other directions and my spatial awareness. What a great skill. Boom. I'm going to take that. I'm going to bring that in. So now you're cultivating and creating all these skills that are going to help you to be a better learner, which obviously in turn is going to make you a better dancer. This is how you're going to be able to be your best advocate as a learner, and how you can work through the obstacle of learning. Our fourth obstacle is time. This is the one that is so commonly known and so commonly used, because time is obviously a real thing that we deal with on a daily basis, trying to fit in everything that we want and deserve. And when you have a commitment, a new commitment or a new wish, To know the allotted time for that is maybe that's the first step, is just to realize exactly how long it might take to acquire the certain goals that you wish to attain. The obstacle of time is it's movable, right? Because we can do anything we want with the priorities that we have and the things that we value. So if you're valuing the goal of I want to be a better dancer, or I want to have this social life that comes with being a dancer, or I want to move my body and exercise and I want to, gain muscle, lose weight, any of those goals that you can certainly achieve with dance, there needs to be now a time slot in your calendar, your weekly calendar, probably. And that needs to be addressed just as you would an important meeting at your work or a doctor's appointment. And the way that we can do this is one, obviously think about how much time it might take. So for us at the studio, a class can range from 1 hour to 4 hours, depending on what you're signing up for and what if you're doing a workshop or if you're doing a class. And to maybe when you're first starting out, the workshop might be like, wow, that's a lot of time. Like, I don't know if I can commit that. However, if you look at it as, well, normally I would go to the bar at night, or I'd spend it home relaxing with my dog. Maybe you think for a certain period of time, I'm going to think about readjusting my schedule so that I can actually achieve what I keep telling myself and actually keep beating myself up about that the fact that I haven't achieved yet. So in the case of a longer class, you might say, "Oh, that's perfect because instead of doing XYZ, I'm going to do this." And because of the compacted learning experience, you might get ahead of your goal faster than you thought. In terms of maybe going a little bit less of a time commitment, that's another way of thinking of it too, because the amount of time doesn't necessarily equate to the desired outcome. What equates is that you're working on the relevant items that are going to get you closer to your goal. For instance, if you're practicing the wrong thing a lot, but you're dedicating the time slot selected to that thing and you're not seeing results, well, no wonder you're doing the wrong thing here, babe. So instead, be very, very sure of exactly what your goal is so that you can that's what we do at the studio. Like, I'll tell my students, right, tell me your goals, tell me your dance goals, because I want you to achieve them. And they give them to me, and then I can structure my lesson plans based off of all my students. So it's actually really quite nice for them and for me, because I know that I can deliver and because they're getting what they need and want. So for instance, when you're thinking about like the small things, have you read the book Atomic Habits? That is literally one of my favorite books. And I'm going to share a quote with you right now that is so relevant to this concept of time. So this is the book. If you haven't heard of it, great read. This is right on page 22, and I'm going to read it out loud to you. The seed of every habit is a single tiny decision. But as that decision is repeated, a habit sprouts and grows stronger. Roots entrench themselves and branches grow. So this is really just like a tiny, tiny decision. Like he says, this is by James Clear. So the seed of every habit is a single tiny decision. So you're creating a habit of learning how to dance, and you're making sure that you're going in on that goal, putting it in your calendar, making sure you stay committed, because remember, when we stay committed, we're having what it takes so that we can do exactly what we want to do. And when the decision is repeated, that's when the habit's growing. So that's you putting it into your calendar and making sure that you can do it once a week, once every other week, maybe one of those longer classes once a month. And the roots entrench themselves and branches grow. I actually just love, even before this book, I just always loved comparing things to plants because it's just so fascinating watching things grow. Have you ever like repotted a plant or propagated a plant? Like, it's so fun. And if you know, you know, and you're like, it is fun. So the roots entrench themselves and branches grow. So yes, okay, it is this beautiful little seed and it grows into these roots. And that's exactly what your habit of putting your time in, putting it in as a commitment is going to do for you. It's going to allow you to really grasp these maybe tiny concepts at first, things that feel small, and then soon they're real big concepts that you're attaching onto. Like even just the thought of musicality. Like I could sit here and I could teach you about the counts and how we do it and how to hear it and what's the bass and, how dancers count to 8 and all of these things and maybe go over some strategies. And you're just going to have this beautiful bass right now if I teach you that. You'll be like, okay, cool. But then the more we get into it and then the more that we're able to apply that knowledge in dance, that's when you're really going to be able to spread your roots into that subject matter. So this, what starts out as a tiny conversation right now, cool, little overview. And then the more and more we get into it, I mean, this is conceptual, that thing that I think you already know. Maybe you haven't thought about it in terms of dance and maybe as an obstacle, because when you're open to that idea of being able to just take in small bite-sized amounts versus just long, like I think we're so used to college and school where we're like, this is my course and I'm dedicated this time to this class and I'm graduating and da-da-da. It doesn't have to be so deep. Like it can be a little bit there, a little bit here, a little bit, oh, I got this little nugget of information in class. I got this little thing. And you're still dedicating that time. You're still learning things. And those little tiny things will add up to one big thing. And also, the other way is perfect too. So however way you want to apply time, it's just the point I'm trying to make is to acknowledge that it's an obstacle and know which way you want to go about it. Do you want to think about it in terms of small bite-sized things, or do you want to go deep and figure it out? And then when you do decide to go deep, then you know that your schedule has an adjustment change to do. And then if you want to do the tiny bite-sized ones, your schedule also has a tiny adjustment, because you got to be able to, for quick, swift movements, to be like, okay, bye guys, gotta go to class, gotta leave quick. Or if you're like 3 months, I'm going to spend like really going hard and like getting my base in dance. And then maybe you just tell everyone that's in your family or people that rely on you, like, hey, no, don't forget, like, this is me. I'm going to my class. Bye. And just making sure that that actually doesn't become an obstacle and it's just something that you can perfectly handle. The last thing to think about with time is to know that sometimes when we're busy, it's just a shift of priorities. So when you're thinking about, oh, I'm busy, like, what are you busy with? Are you actually busy, or are you making yourself feel like you're busy because that makes you feel better than confronting the fact that you know nothing about the thing you're about to learn? Ooh. I mean, is it that you feel like, oh gosh, I just realized I know nothing about this subject and I really want to learn it. And so therefore, it's like the idea of like procrastination, right? Like you start procrastinating just for the sheer fact of like, oh, I can do this. Like how many of you have ever cleaned your house when you have something important to do? And you're just like, well, I'm doing something and it's still important. But what level of importance is it? Like obviously if you have company coming over, like, go ahead, clean your house. But if you have a report due or something and you're like, okay, well, I'm just going to clean. Good job. You're cleaning, you're getting something done. That is awesome. And it's also taking you away. That busy is taking you away from the busy that you got to be busy doing to get to your goal. And then just to realize that time is always going to reveal your priorities. So when you're thinking about how can I get involved with this new skill that I really want to, understand that you just made that a really great priority and you get to have the power to move things around to make it fit into your schedule. The last obstacle that I want to talk about today is that awkwardness, that ugly stage, that icky feeling that you get when you're not perfect, when you don't see results, when you don't see results fast enough. And I call this stage the ugly stage. And you gotta love the ugly stage, right? And what happens in this stage is a lot. Like there's a lot of growth to be had. It's just we don't see it yet. Josh and I have this plant. We actually got it from my dog's adopted dad's parents, and they gave us this little clipping of this plant. It's like a really special plant that only blooms like on a certain moon in February once a year. We potted this plant and it was just literally this little leaf. And for the longest time, I'm going to say a year and a half, it was sitting in the pot. Nothing was seen from the outside other than that it was still green and seemed like it was doing all right. What we didn't know was all this stuff was happening underneath the surface of what we could see. These roots were going down and it was really planting itself, propagating itself, right? Because it was a clipping. I love plants. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, like, I think it was like a year and a half after, it just started like, wow, it just started going. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's happening. It's growing. And Josh was like, oh my gosh. And then it like really started growing. And we were like, whoa. So not that it was ugly while this was happening, but the ugly stage, and maybe the plant felt ugly, you never know. But when we're dancing and we're learning and we feel like we're not getting it or we're not doing it like the people around us, or maybe we recognize a correction that our instructor gives us, but we haven't had the ability to apply it yet because it's just like too fast or it's hard or we forgot about it because we were thinking about something else. We were thinking about our foot. And so therefore, maybe it looks not like what we thought it would look like or not what we intended it to look like. So instead of thinking about it being this quest for perfection, actually make the reframe. Your quest is actually questing to find the ugly stage, because when you find the ugly stage, that's when you're going to be closer to growth. So there my beautiful plant was rooting itself, potting itself, and then bam, it grew. There you are working on this, working on that, bringing your ankles together, thinking about your arm, your face, your this or that. And it's like kind of like a big mess. And then one day it does just click and then bam, it's not ugly anymore. And it's great. And honestly, I have to say this just because this is who I am as a teacher. It's never ugly to me. It's beautiful to me always. I think the learning process is always so pretty because usually I'm the one that gets to see like the magic first, because I'll see one tiny like arm being the way that it needs to be in alignment principles. And I'll be like, ooh, I saw it. That means it can happen again. That means that something's happening, something's churning. So when you find the ugly stages happening, or you find like you're doing a lot and nothing is happening, that's when you want to push harder, actually. And that can be quite the obstacle and kind of like a mind fuck, honestly, because you're literally like, yeah, I'm putting a lot of time and nothing's happening. Stuff is happening. One of my favorite concepts to talk about at the studio, especially to new learners, is that here's your head. Here's the pot. It's on top of the stove and you're making soup. I love soup. And you're just stewing and brewing. And in comes all, you're pouring in the salt, pepper, basil, celery, and all those ingredients are like information about this. Here's some information. Dancers love diagonals. Here's some more information about this is the reason why we connect our feet before we turn. This is the reason why we change our weight here. All those little things, they're going to sit in your pot on your stove and they're going to simmer and they're going to continue to simmer. And then randomly, you're just going to start to taste those things. You'll be like, I don't even know why my arm I just did that arm. And it'll be like, yes, you did. Because things start to click. And it's actually the most beautiful thing to see. So in summary, your awkward stage, your ugly stage, that icky stage, that's an obstacle, but it's a beautiful obstacle because it's the one that actually tells you things are happening. So with all 5 of these major obstacles, and I'm sure there are more, these 5 obstacles are the ones that I see most as a dance teacher, as a dance studio owner. I have participants in my class all throughout the week, and we are always navigating the obstacle of the body, shyness, time, learning, and making sure that we love the awkward, ugly stage. So I hope that when next time you're feeling like an obstacle or something come up, and obviously there might be some more obstacles that I didn't touch on today, but hopefully now you have the skills to just go in and think about it and reframe it in a better, different way that can help you move forward instead of backwards. Because remember, obstacles don't block the path. They are the path. And the only way forward is through. So I will see you on the dance floor and on the next podcast episode.